he kind of came out of nowhere and then all of a sudden committed. So it was a pretty quick turnaround.
And so Carolina reached out to him last week. For a real, you understand why. 4-year player at Oklahoma, a career 37% three-point shooter, averaged 10 points and 5 boards for his career as a Sooner. He's your modern-day four-man, a guy that will help spread the floor and will really just open the floor for Carolina's guards. Carolina contacted him ultimately, they got him. He transferred because he got an extra year because of COVID. His head coach, Lon Kruger, retired. Didn't want to stick around for Porter Moser as Oklahoma's going to kind of mini rebuild under their new head coach. Comes to Carolina, and this is easily the biggest get that Hubert Davis has gotten since being named the head coach of Carolina.
It's him or another guy. So
you more than anything. I mean, you love the fact he can shoot the three, and he's played in a Power 5 conference and all that. There's a good chance, depending on he might be your only big man as at this moment because you don't know what Armando Bacot's going to do in terms of coming back to school or not. So nonetheless, a big get for Carolina on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people that, they're kind of all over the place with this. I saw a lot of people that said, how great really is this guy? This guy was a 4-year producer at Oklahoma and put up some pretty good numbers. If you're looking for a reason to criticize him, it's probably for this past year. Played in 25 games for Oklahoma. That was after having a collapsed lung due to COVID-19. Came back, still played this year. So, yeah, wasn't at 100% for most of the year. Still shot 37% from three. Will easily be your best three-point shooter on this team, maybe outside of Kerwin Walton if Kerwin can pick up the volume of shots and continue to shoot at the rate that he does. Those two will probably be neck and neck. But this guy, this was the player that you thought you were getting in Walker Kessler, but he's a little bit smaller, doesn't rebound maybe as well as Walker Kessler did. But this is, you wanted stretch forwards, this is what you're getting right here. This is going to be the definition of a stretch four for you. He's going to be able to knock down some shots from the outside. His rebounding numbers aren't bad. They're not great. Look, this past year was his worst year at 5 rebounds per game, but 2 years ago, averaged 6.2. So he's got some ability to rebound on the glass for you. And I think, he does provide some stuff, on the defensive end for you. You look at his block numbers, he would have been one of the leaders on this team this past year. So he's going to give you what you need inside. He's going to be able to stretch the floor for you a little bit. But here's the biggest thing. Is he going to be a good player for Carolina? Yes. Is he going to be a great superstar player for Carolina? No. That's the thing that I hope people realize with this. This does not – I saw people on there, this means, we didn't need Walker Kessler because we got Brady Manick. He's just as good of a player as Walker Kessler. Okay. Talent-wise, probably not. But I do think that there is some potential here for him. It's just, again, you've got to sort of limit your expectations here. I think the biggest thing here is that this is going to be a productive guy at a power conference level coming into your program instead of a guy that was productive at the mid-major level coming into your program, which we saw with Christian Keeling and it didn't translate. We saw with Justin Pierce and it didn't translate. He's been in a big conference. He played in arguably top to bottom the toughest conference in college basketball this past year.
And I've made that known all since Hubert Davis became the head coach and said we're going to use the transfer portal. All of the major guys that Carolina has been involved with have came from a Power 5 or Power 6 conference from the college basketball in the college basketball world. He understands that you can't go to the mid-majors to get 1-year guys. You can go there to get 2 to 3-year guys. But right now you're trying to fix your roster with 1-year dudes. You're not doing that at the mid-major level because it didn't work out with Christian Keeling and Justin Pierce. It's not going to work under a new head coach and a new staff.
The only way you do that is if there's a Steph Curry type player where, like with Steph, if the transfer portal was a thing back when he was a senior, and let's say he entered the transfer portal, you would have taken that risk because how good. But unless you see that type of player, I get that's the thing. Everybody was really liking the pickup that Virginia had of Jaden Gardner. There's no guarantee that he's going to be successful. He averaged 18.3 a game at East Carolina. That team was not good a year ago. You're in a much smaller conference, so who knows if there's going to be success. That's why a pickup like this, which most people have Manek rated below Gardner in terms of best transfer portal pickups. I mean, I don't see how that's possible because I think this is a much better pickup for Carolina.
In best case scenario for him, he spreads the floor. You use him as a standout three-point shooter that your guards can drive, draw double team, kick the ball, and he shoots a three. You're never going to really run your offense through him. You're hoping you have Armando Bacot back to do that. But he brings you got some more size on your roster, and you got a guy that you know for 4 years he's produced. So he's going to produce for you. And what you imagine is that a more advanced system that will allow him to score the ball a little more easily as opposed to Oklahoma. With his commitment, though, Carolina did miss out on the Creighton transfer, Christian Bishop. Not a big surprise. It was pretty much reported that if Carolina got Manek, they weren't going to get Bishop, and pretty much they stressed getting Manek over Bishop. They wanted Manek to commit before Bishop did. That way they could then go along with their recruitment. So Christian Bishop going to Texas, he picked the Longhorns and new head coach Chris Beard over Carolina and Kansas. A lot of people a little surprised that he picked Texas over the two Blue Bloods, but nonetheless the Creighton transfer has found himself a new home. Another piece of recruiting news. We stressed really all since the season ended. Carolina's got to recruit Jonas Adu. They got to recruit Jonas Adu. They scheduled a Zoom meeting with him last Tuesday. Ultimately, they canceled it with him. Ended his recruitment. He lands at Tennessee the very next day. So we'll be interested to see how his career pans out up there in Knoxville, because if he goes there and becomes a big-time player, this will be one that slipped away from you in your home state. But I feel like if Hubert Davis and Carolina canceled the Zoom meeting, there had to be a pretty legitimate reason why, whether it was grades, maybe attitude, or maybe they just felt like he wasn't going to fit. Nonetheless, he does end up in Knoxville. And lastly, Garrison Brooks, who is transferring out of Carolina, he's found himself a new home. He's going back home to play for his dad at Mississippi State, where we all expected him to go once he announced he was going to transfer. And, a lot of people have given Garrison Brooks a lot of flack all season long, and ever since he transferred.
It's unbelievable.
4-year player that produced for you. He gave you his best every night on the floor. He carried you through that 2019-20 season. That's just stuff on the court. We know all the great stuff he did for the community off the court. So we're going to wish Garrison Brooks well, and as he finished up his basketball career playing for us. That's always kind of cool when you get to go play for your dad. And lastly, before we get out here on another shorter edition of the podcast, since Roy Williams has retired, there's been a lot of accolades and a lot of stuff coming out memorizing Roy Williams, and we all know his love and affection for golf. The Wells Fargo Championship is going to acknowledge him. Wednesday, May 5th, will be Roy Williams Day at Quail Hollow Club here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Roy's going to play a Pro-Am on Wednesday, and I believe head football coach Mac Brown is supposed to play with him, or at least be in attendance. I know we're thinking about getting out there to the golf course as a chance to maybe meet Roy Williams. $50 gets you access to the golf course for Monday's Pro-Am, Tuesday's practice round with the pros, and then Wednesday's Pro-Am for just Roy Williams. But I wonder how long it's going to take there to be a national state day for Roy Williams, because I feel like he's kind of got the moniker.
I thought you were going to ask how long it would take them to get around the golf course. I think Roy will be all right.
This dude's parred 5 holes at Augusta National the day before retiring.
He shot an 88, better than some of the guys that we saw there the week after he retired in the Masters.
Yeah.
And said, I didn't really have a clear head that day. Are you kidding me? What?
It kind of got me thinking, when will he have like a day recognized by the state? He's one of the biggest celebrities that were born here, raised here.
Well, that'll probably be when it will be, right? August 10th, you would imagine that'll
August
probably
1st
is August 1st. It was somewhat.
It's always Roy Williams Day that day for me. So hopefully Roy Cooper will do something good up there in Raleigh and give us a good day to recognize the former head coach of the Tar Heels. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Before we let you go, get you guys over to the website, HeelToughBlog.com, where we had you covered all weekend long with all the news coming in and out of the Carolina basketball program about Hubert Davis' staff, all the recruiting news, and we're going to keep you covered as we continue to go through what's been this crazy, hectic offseason on the basketball side of things. On the football side of things, spring game is this Saturday. We do plan on being in attendance for that, and Anthony will get you guys ready for one of the more anticipated spring games in Carolina football history. And lastly, we're encourage you guys to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. You can find us on every major podcasting feed, most notably Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Podcasts. Give us a like, review me as the host, review Anthony as the host. We want you guys to subscribe. That way you get every episode right there in your podcast library. Well, with that, I do want to thank Anthony for coming on to talk a little Carolina basketball. We want to thank you guys for listening. And as always, go Tar Heels!